video is like 2 weeks late, but I can't not make my January favorites because it was such a good reading month. So good! I read so many books and I want to tell you about all of them because I believe that none of them were less than 4 stars. So this is my January wrap-up / favorites. It is the video in which I wrap up all the books that I have read during January, and I also tell you some of my favorites, like my favorite Netflix of the month and my mug of the month that I bought and my favorite book of the month and all that stuff. Let us get into it because it's going to be lengthy. The first book that I read was Grow Up by Ben Brooks. It was such a good way to start out the year. So perfect. It's a coming-of-age novel. Ben Brooks is 17. He was 17 when he wrote this, at least. I'm pretty sure that the protagonist in this book was 20 years old. His name was Jasper. It's a coming-of-age novel written like an adult novel. Two of my favorite things in one. Had plenty of shock value right from the beginning. However, when you have shock value, you also have to have a lot of wittiness and lines that make you feel like you're reading something intelligent, because otherwise it's just a bunch of shock value for nothing. And this definitely wasn't shock value for nothing. The story was absolutely fantastic. It followed Jasper, our protagonist, and then we also have Tanea and Ping, who are his best friends. There's a lot of sex and drugs in this book. It is, like I said, definitely an adult book. However, it is still a coming-of-age novel, and the sex and drugs weren't the main part of the book. They happened in the book, but they weren't necessarily what was important in the book, and you definitely saw that throughout the entire novel. As all coming-of-age stories, Jasper deals with a lot of hardships throughout the book. Harder than normal because this is written like an adult book. The first thing that he sees when he walks in on his friend Tanea in the shower is he sees that she has all cuts up and down her arms. She was self-harming herself. He doesn't know how to deal with it. Then later in the book, he finds out that he may be the father of a child. He may have gotten a girl pregnant. Another huge hardship that he has to deal with throughout the entire book. He also thinks that his stepfather is a murderer. This book is really, really funny. It's incredibly witty. I was able to underline a lot of things. And it was just a very interesting read that I couldn't take myself away from. I think I read it in like 2 days. So good, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Next book that I read was very, very short. It's called Annabelle. A mini novel within the Delirium series that talks about Annabelle, who was the mother of the protagonist. Delirium is all about how love is a disease in the future, and this mom, she got away from the disease, and people thought that she killed herself, but apparently she did not. And this mini novel told all about her story, and I thought it was very, very interesting. I gave the mini novel a 4 while I gave Delirium a 3. So I really, really enjoyed hearing about this character's perspective in this entire futuristic world. It was so interesting, and now it made me even more excited to read Pandemonium, the second novel. The next book that I started was To Kill a Mockingbird. It took me quite a while to read because I wanted to get through everything and scour the entire thing completely, thoroughly analyze it. It was incredibly well done. The racism was portrayed very well for that time period. I loved Scout as our protagonist because she was a static character at first and then very, very gradually worked into being such a well-developed character. She grew to be incredibly dynamic, and it almost surprised you at the end. Completely almost caught you off guard. What I really enjoyed about Harper Lee's writing as well is she took a lot of the same lines that she took in the beginning and she connected it towards the end. That is something I really enjoy, is connections within a book. I know that some people are supposed to read it during school. I did not read it during school because I preferred my independent reading over the reading that I was supposed to be reading. But I definitely should have read this at the start, and I'm glad that I did read it now. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Next book I read was Scott Pilgrim Volume 1, and I'll also just throw out now that I read Volume 2 as well within the month. They were both very, very good. Volume 1, the movie adaptation, took everything from this novel and completely copied it for the book. There was no changes, absolutely none. So if you like the movie, you would totally love this graphic novel. Absolutely wonderful. What I loved even more was Volume 2 because it showed me all new characters, introduced me to so many new themes that the movie did not have in it. It was very interesting hearing about these new characters. The only problem that I really had, sometimes I would confuse one character with another because there are a lot of new girls introduced in this one, so you really have to pay attention to like the hair and the chubbiness of their legs to really get a good idea of which character is which. If you can do that though, by the end, it's absolutely fantastic. I have 3 and 4 on my bookshelf, so I will most likely be reading them this month. Really good graphic novel series. I would totally recommend it. These were my first graphic novels that I read ever, and they were perfect to start out with. Absolutely perfect. 5 out of 5 stars to both of them, obviously. The next book has took its place as my favorite young adult book of all time. It was so good, and I read it on my Kindle, so now I need to buy the actual physical copy so I can have it as a physical copy. Pushing the Limits by Katie McGarry. It went back and forth from Noah's perspective to Echo's perspective. Noah is a foster child, and Echo, she's had some serious mother issues. They are two very broken souls, and usually in young adult books, when the two people have broken souls, they automatically fall in love and blah blah blah. You hardly hear about any character development. Yes, these two did have completely broken souls, and it did seem rather predictable. Their two stories were so completely interesting to follow, and they followed each other up so perfectly. Noah and Echo were their own two separate were there two separate entities. That's what I was saying. Echo, the girl, was such a strong girl character, which was great to see. I love seeing strong girl characters, especially in these estranged love stories. And Noah's character, he was so angry all the time. He had such an anger issue, but at the same time, you loved him because he calmed down at the times when you needed him to calm down most. Their love actually seemed very, very believable for these broken souls. It seemed so real. I respected it so much. Katie McGarry did so well with this. It's contemporary YA at its finest, 5 stars, and it is my favorite young adult book currently. What I especially liked at the end too was I was at 90% on my Kindle, like the book was 90% finished, and there still wasn't a happy ending set in stone. I was like, are they really gonna do this to me? Is there gonna be no real, like, happy ending at the end? Of course there was, but I mean, it was nice being hung by a thread for a little bit, having a serious moment of tension within the novel. It was so good. 5 out of 5 stars. So good. I am losing my voice. This is not good. I'm getting too excited. That's all it really is. Getting too excited about the books. The next book that I read was Carrie by Stephen King. This follows a teenager, Carrie of course. Carrie is very strange in comparison to her other classmates. Very, very strange. Her mother is one of a serious religious following, and whenever she did something strange to Carrie in her childhood, like, beat her, Carrie would throw a fit that was unexplainable. Completely unexplainable. At one point, when she was 5 years old and her mother was, beating her, Carrie got so angry that rocks rained down on their house. This is unnatural, of course, this shouldn't be happening. So now Carrie's in high school, right? She gets her first menstrual cycle when she's 17 years old. That's not supposed to happen. All the kids start making fun of her, throwing tampons and whatnot at her in the locker room. Absolutely terrible. Carrie is mortified, and every single person makes fun of her all the time, every day of her life. She is so sick of it. And then crazy events happen. This girl, Susan, she feels bad for her, so she decides, you know what, I'm not going to go to prom. Instead, my boyfriend should go to prom with Carrie, and that way she'll feel like she's a part of something. That seemed like a good move at the time, if there wasn't like a zillion other kids in the high school that could be making fun of her at the prom. But good intentions, and then prom happens, and then a series of completely unfortunate events happen. Stephen King has wit, and he grows suspense within his novel until the very end when it smacks you in the face. And this was his first novel, and I thought it was such a wonderful first novel. I would totally suggest it to people that read primarily YA because it is about a teenage character, and it's very it gets you so unnerved. Plus, the movie's coming out in October, so you might as well. It was really good. I gave it 4 stars. I think the only reason I gave it 4 stars instead of 5 stars was because I really enjoyed The Shining. But this is still a fantastic novel. I read Domestic Violence next by Matthew Norton. Tom Violet is our character in this adult novel, and he is having issues. He's always wanted to become a writer, and now his dad, he just won the Pulitzer Prize, and his dad's books completely shadow his life, and he just wants to become his own person and have a great family life and be okay, and nothing is working out for him, and he is sad. There's plot twist on plot twist on plot twist in this book, which I did not expect in the slightest. It's like, oh, this is going to happen, okay, boom! No, instead this is going to happen, and your life just goes completely awry. It is hilarious and witty and plot twists everywhere, and if you're looking for an adult novel to read, I would totally go with this one. It's really good. At some points you hate the protagonist, but in the end you do enjoy his company. For the most part, he is a wonderful man. We all make mistakes. Tom Violet makes a good amount of them, but so does his family, so does everyone else in his life. It's really good realistic fiction. It is absolutely wonderful. It reminded me of a Lifetime movie, in book form. I don't know if that'll shoo you away from it or if it'll welcome you to read it. It was quite entertaining. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Death Note is the second graphic novel series that I have gotten into ever. It is a manga series, and so far it is so good. I've only read the first volume so far, but I've gotten quite a few other volumes since then because I definitely want to get more into it. Our protagonist's character is Light, and he is so bored with his life. He's getting straight A's, he's completely ready to go off to college, but his life is just so boring. One day he finds a notebook on the side of his school grounds. On top of it says Death Note, and inside are a bunch of rules, and basically it states that if you're thinking of a person while you write their name in this book, they're going to die. If you don't state the death that you want them to have within 40 seconds, they're going to die of a heart attack. Light decides to use this book for good instead of evil and take down people that have wronged in their life, such as mass murderers or something like that. People will catch on and see that all these people are having heart attacks and no more harm will be done in the world. This is easier said than done. Light is just very stressed out at this point, but he is very intelligent and he's trying to figure out how to get things done. It's really good so far. The premise is something that I haven't seen done like this ever before. I'm really enjoying all the characters, especially Ryuk. Oh my god, he's so good. I am loving this series so far, even though I've only read the first volume, and I cannot wait to read the rest of them. That took ages. I'm so sorry if this is such a long video. However, favorites time. So my favorite book of the entire month is gonna be Pushing the Limits. I could not stop reading that. I had to keep reading it. Even if people were talking to me, I would just flip through the pages on my Kindle. I was like, I need to finish this book. It was such good contemporary YA, and if you haven't read it before, I would recommend it to anyone, boys or girls alike. Netflix View of the Month, that's going to be Parks and Recreation. If you guys have not seen it, it's fantastic. I have not seen The Office, but it's sort of set up like an office sort of show. It has the different camera angles and whatnot, and Amy Poehler is so hilarious, and so is everybody else that's casted on that show. It's so good. If you haven't watched it, there's 60 something episodes I believe on Netflix right now, and it's so funny. I would totally recommend it. Beverage of the month. What beverage have I been drinking? Hold on. I've still been drinking a lot of pumpkin coffee. I will drink pumpkin coffee until I am out of pumpkin coffee. Until Dunkin' Donuts is out of pumpkin coffee, that is what I will be drinking. Mug of the month. I didn't buy a mug this month. Are you shocked? Because I am. I usually buy a mug every single month. I collect mugs. I collect novelty mugs, and I did not buy one this month. That's probably a good thing though. Need to keep the money in the wallet so I can buy the books. Stress reliever of the month. Hot showers. Super warm showers, and then fuzzy socks. Oh, they both made me so happy. Lastly, my favorite song of the month is going to be Toothpaste Kisses by the Maccabees. It's so heartwarming and so wonderful. I kind of want to make a music video about it. And that's it. I hope you guys are having a great February, and I'm sorry that this video was so extremely late. Hope you're having a fantastic month, and I will see you soon. Bye!